Hello everybody and welcome to a new video for Luck Poker. Today we are going to play a bit with a trainer of GTO Wizard and we are going to focus on the c-betting strategy, out of position, interbet pots, small blind versus button. If you didn't see the previous video of this series, I suggest you watch it. It should be linked in the description and also it should be linked somewhere on the video itself. And in the previous video, we saw the aggregated report for this pot. And so we should have, let's say, an idea of how frequently these spots are c-bet and with which sizing. Let's then set the trainer and start playing. So we go to the trainer, we are on the small blind, villain is going to be on the button and is going to play GTO, which shows 3-bet pot, and we can just start the training from here. We can also focus on the single spot instead of the full hand, keep in mind to do this, and we can now start with the training. We can also check sometimes how frequently we bet or not here. This is going to help us if we are still a beginner, but I think it's better if you don't have any help on choosing what to do. So we have pocket kings on a board like this. So this board is not going to be c-bet at a super high frequency, I think, and we are going sometimes to bet, sometimes to check. I think the most used size is going to be the 50% pot size bet. We saw, the small size is more for those kind of situations where we bet range at a high frequency. We saw that the 75% is used kind of rarely, sometimes on medium paired board and on medium dry boards. On all the other kind of spots, usually the 50% is the most used one. And the kings here, I think I am going to bet on this board in general. So I am going to bet about half pot. And here, for example, it liked all sizings, he liked the small bet, he liked the big bet, he liked the medium bet. When there is a situation like this and the solver, let's say, likes multiple sizes, my suggestion is to pick the one in the middle. So here, since all three are used, I would go for the medium one, but also the big one was fine in this specific situation. Probably this is considered a bit as medium and unconnected since, it's difficult for the button to have the 3 and the 4, and so it's not that different from a 10-6 deuce board. So yeah, makes sense anyway. Let's move on. So King 9-8, this is a board we are going to bet at a high frequency. We saw how frequently those kind of boards are bet, but we also saw how the 8-9 combo, let's say, apart from the big card, pushes our frequencies downwards. So even if this is a king high board, I think this is probably not one of the boards we're betting range. And I think we should check this hand. Actually, this is ace-10 with not that much equity and with no backdoor. I'm going for the check, but let's see. Yeah, it was a 100% check. And as you see, this 8-9 can change a lot because not all the king high boards are the same. And as you see, the average size is still the small one because it's still a king high board, but the frequency is so low because of this 8-9, which is so connected, and we cannot bet that much. We saw it in the Italo, I think it was on an ace 8-9 board, but as you see, the truth, it says the same also for a king 9-9 board with a flush draw. So be aware of these details. Let's move on. So Queen Jack 3, I think this board is gonna be bet and check sometimes. I don't think we're gonna bet range. I don't think we're gonna check range. I think we're just gonna mix it. And this is not a board where we typically bet 75% nor 33%. So I think the bet size here, if we go, is going to be 50%. Queen 10 specifically, I think is going to be mixed. Sometimes bet, top pair no kicker, sometimes checked. We have now a 98 on the randomizer, so I think we're going to bet this one. We bet, and as you see, it was split 50-50. Actually here, he also liked the small bet. It's fine. And as we see, the strategy was, it wasn't a clear bet range, it was a bit mixed, so that's what matters. Let's move on. We have King, Queen 10. We didn't see this specific board with 3 broadways when we studied the graded reports. it could have been worse, of course. I think we're betting this at a decent frequency, all in all, and I think the sizing is going to be small, about 1/3. So with this ace-8 suited, I think we're going to bet, especially with an 84% randomizer here. It was actually more mixed than I thought. I didn't think it would be 50-50 like it is. Let's see our full strategy. And also actually is 50-50. Yeah, I would expect a bit more. I wouldn't expect better range necessarily, but I would expect a bit more of a frequency of betting. Good to know. And in general here, anyway, we see how also the sizing stays small when the board is this big, this high. Pocket 9 stands 7-7. This is one of the boards where our sizing gets pretty high, and I think here the solver is going to use a 75% bet size. Sometimes might check, but I think with the 98 on the randomizer and this board, I'm gonna bet 75% of the board. And as you see, it's the favorite size it uses, as we saw, and also it bets pretty frequently. Monotone board, we saw the monotone boards were particular. We saw that we like to check a lot on those. We typically check range, and I will do the same with kings here. We check kings with the king of spades specifically, might like to bet, but if you see our strategy in general, you know, it's a clear check in general. And I think it's much better if we just approach this spot with a check range instead of remembering that few hands like this one should have been bet. I think it's just better if we just check range, as we saw. Let's move on. We have pocket tens. This board is medium. I think we're not going to bet range here. The sizing also is probably going to be something in between mixed 1/3 and half pot. And with pocket tens here, I think we should mainly check in general, but we will see. I chose to check. Yeah, it is mainly a check, and as we guessed, the bet sizing were in between 1/3 and half pot bet. Also, we see we are checking a lot here, actually, a bit more than expected, but still we are not in a check range scenario, and see how this sizing were predictable for us after we studied the aggregated reports. Let's move on. King 10, we have a pair board. I think it's going to be bet at a pretty decent frequency, and the sizing is not going to be huge. I think it's going to be about half pot, and I will go for that sizing. Still, even this board likes to bet a lot of big. It's not bad to bet half pot, but still it likes to bet pretty big in these kind of situations, the solver, as we see. And let's move on to the next one. We have king queen. This is a medium, sort of semi-connected board, let's say. Typically those boards are going to be bet with a 50% sizing, but I don't think we're betting king queen that often. I'm gonna check this one. But yeah, I think if I bet, it's probably going to be mixed strategy, sometimes bet, sometimes check, and expect mainly with the 50% bet. But again, let's go with the check here. Yeah, the check is the main thing we should do with king queen, which we expected. And as we see, it was about 50-50. It likes also the big sizing here. We saw that sometimes he liked to, you know, this board is halfway in between being connected and disconnected. You know, it's semi-connected, we should call it. And we saw how on connected boards, kind of connected, he liked to bet half pot, while on the disconnected boards, he liked to bet bigger. So here he uses both sizings, which, you know, 50% is still used a bit more frequency than the big one, but both will be fine. So our prediction were pretty much right. Ace 10, so this is a board that we are going to bet at a high frequency in general. I think the sizing is gonna be small. Actually, I already see it here. Luckily, I didn't hide it. And I'm surprised for the sizing because, yeah, I didn't expect him to bet this. I mean, all three sizing are fine, as you see. I would expect him to bet a bit more with low sizing, but yeah, now we already saw it, so we go for it. But yeah, I think if I didn't see the solution, I would probably just, I would have just, let's say, bet small, and that's it. Move on. We have Jack 10-5. This board is going to be sometimes bet and sometimes check. I expect the sizing to be 50% of the pot with these medium kind of connected boards. And Queen Jack specifically, I think, is going to be mixed. We have 51%. I will go for the bet, but let's see. So yeah, he likes to bet. This is a board actually that is betting a lot, but it's also a very weird situation because, as you see, he also has a decent shove on the flop frequency, which doesn't happen that much. But you know, something I should have kept in mind, that when this happens, it happens typically specifically on 10 Jack X with a flush draw board. I simply forgot about it, but now that I saw the spot, I can see that, and we can also see it, you know, in the aggregated reports. It's interesting to see this situation because it's particular. Of course, I don't recommend to study that much very particular scenarios, but I think it's worth sometimes to note these things. For example, here, if we filter the board and we put a Jack 10 high board with a flush draw, for example, and confirm, we can see how these boards are sometimes shoved. Or simply, even simpler than putting the filter, we could just put any board, any, and just see which are those few boards which are overbet with a shove. And as you see, they're all this same thing: Jack 10x, Jack 10x, Jack 10x. So yeah, keep in mind this particular thing because, you know, it may pops out. I don't know if you want to implement this shoving strategy on the flop on this specific board. I would say it's probably better to just play it more straightforward and try to play them similarly to a Queen 10x board. I think it's much easier than to do this thing. But, you know, keep it in mind, technically speaking, this is what makes sense and this is what you should consider. But yeah, I hope you like this video. I hope that you learned something, and I learned to remember these things better because, yeah, I did something I definitely already saw, but it already popped out of my mind. And thanks for watching. Keep in mind that if you like my videos, the best way to stay in touch and to be posted about my new videos is to subscribe on the channel and follow. Thanks for watching. Bye.